This is the Tab Ultra C, and it's been my main recommendation ever since it's been out. And Boox have done it again, another new tab device, and I don't have this one. This is the Tab Ultra C, and the new device is the Tab Ultra C Pro. So I suppose that it isn't an all-new device, but there are some significant upgrades. And we'll get to whether you should upgrade depending on which device you're currently using later in this video. I've been using the Note Air 3C, however, which has been released at the same time as the Tab Ultra C Pro. And my full review on that will be coming soon. And it's really solidified in my mind the difference between the two devices and the two use cases. The Note is very inviting to hold and to write on with the pen. And the Ultra, and therefore the Ultra Pro, is the place for the productivity. It's the powerhouse which generally sits in this laptop mode. And in this new device, you've got all the power on an upgraded chip and GPU from the Tab Ultra C. One of the biggest differences is that it adds a trackpad to give you an even more PC-like experience. It seems that there are also volume buttons on the side of the device, just up here where you expect to find them on most tablets. That's not something that I was clamoring for, but perhaps they could be mapped to be page 10 or something. It also adds 2 more gigabytes of RAM, which is welcome. It does seem to have a slightly smaller battery than the Ultra C, and it does weigh therefore slightly less. There's nothing in this press release about improving the battery performance, and so this could be an interesting question. The camera bump is still there. You'll all be not very pleased to hear, but it does seem to have been redesigned, and there seems to be an LED to the side of it as well. So that's welcome. They have updated in this, the Note Air 3C and the Tab Ultra C Pro, they have updated to Android 12. So again, that's welcome. There's a few extra years of Android security updates. In the Tab Ultra C Pro, there is an updated processor. It's now a Qualcomm 2.8 gigahertz octa-core. It was 2 gigahertz octa-core before, and that's a significant bump in processing power. There's probably also a more modern processor, and that should give it better performance. And I hope that that's allowing Android 12, and I hope that's going to give it better battery performance also. And all of this is only £50 or $50 more than the Tab Ultra C was at launch. So should you upgrade? That's the question. Well, I imagine probably not if you already have a Tab Ultra C, unless you're finding that you're regularly pushing the limits of what that device can do, or unless you desperately need the trackpad. But I also think that the way this case folds compared to the Tab Ultra C is actually a bit problematic, because this is quite good for putting on your lap because it's got that single flat surface, whereas the case is going to fold back, so you're going to have to support the folded back part and the flat part on your lap. So it'd be fine on a desk, but perhaps not perfect for lapping. But we do see that type of device on other devices, and we don't get many complaints about it really, so it's a valid design choice, I think. But that trackpad could make it much more usable. I'd be interested to try that. And there's also a couple of other benefits of having that trackpad there and having the device sit at the back of the case rather than in the middle as it does now. So firstly, the magnetic rail on this device is always right in the middle of the screen, behind the screen here, so you get a wobble as you write over it, and that's quite annoying. Whereas now the magnetic rail would be at the side, so you're much less likely to get interference in the middle of your line of writing. And also the pogo pins are now on the back of this device rather than at the bottom, and so you're less likely to get that accidental disconnection from the keyboard that you get quite regularly here. I would imagine that's the case anyway. So there's an extra bump in performance. Android 12 is good, but probably is not necessary to upgrade from the Tab Ultra C. There's only those 2 small differences really. It is tempting though, right? But here's the thing that seems to be about the way Boox develops their hardware. I imagine it's the case they just get a certain amount of chips and a certain amount of screens, and they go through a certain size of manufacturing run. And the thing is that the last few products they've put out have completely sold out. So why not iterate? Why not just develop each time? Put the next batch of chips and screens into something new, where you've actually had the time to think about it and improve the form factor. We have the perception as consumers that each time a company we like Boox puts out something new, that we should upgrade, that we have to upgrade. But that's on us really. So if you've got an older Boox device, love the one you're with. Enjoy watching the innovation from Boox and get something new when you truly feel that your work life will benefit from it. Being said, there's nothing wrong with enjoying tech, and you can pass on your older device to someone else who can get a lot of use out of it. There has been mentioned in the Boox press release that they're committed to 3 years of free firmware updates for each device after release. So that's the type of lifespan that they're expecting you to use them for. One thing I think could be missing from this device, one thing that I really enjoyed recently when I've been going back to using the iPad at work, was the 4G connectivity. And that's something which you might expect in something with a Pro badge. I'd love to see Boox bring 4G and of course a real e-ink phone. And it shouldn't really cost the extra £100 that Apple seem to want to charge for the upgrade. Considering I'm reviewing a £130 Android tablet that's got 4G, surely there's a way for Apple to reduce that price difference, and surely there's a way for Boox to get it into their devices as well. Perhaps Boox could look to partner with someone like Doogee or AllDoCube, who seem to have figured out that 4G connectivity across different markets. Partnering with Doogee would be interesting because that might give the option for a rugged e-ink tablet that I know that many of you have asked for. So as always, you'll find links in the description. I think though, if you're as far back as maybe the Tab Ultra, you might consider upgrading to the color screen. I think if you're on a Note device, so a Note Air 1, Note Air 2, or the previous generation of Notes from the Air series, and you're finding that you really want to use more productivity apps, then this is now the recommend. This is the recommend for productivity use. If you want a e-ink tablet to be your productivity powerhouse, then go with this. But still, if you want an e-ink tablet to be your notebook, well, you're still totally fine on any of those older black and white Boox Note series, but the Note Air 3C is now the recommend for that. As always, you'll find links to this device in the description, and you're going to find this device, the Tab Ultra C Pro, first at the bookstore. And that's also always been the cheapest way to get it bundled with a case, so you might want to check that one out.